vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Jim Michaely, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the March 31st, 2026 issue of Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. First up from the front page, story titled Downtown Noodle Bar to Reopen After 7-Week Closure. It was a restaurateur's worst nightmare when Jennifer Laban got a call about flooding just days before Valentine's Day. Laban, co-owner of K. Dara Noodle Bar, was forced to close the 75-seat basement-level restaurant at 110 Pearl Street after a pipe burst on an upper floor of the Dunn Building. It rained for several days inside, she said. It's been a little rough. We've been closed since February 11th. That changes April 1st, when K. Dara reopens after a 7-week shutdown with an abbreviated week 1 before bringing back its 6-day schedule the following week. We had to fully get everything back in business in the restaurant. We needed a whole new ceiling, but my landlords have been incredible. They've been helping us out, and we're in the final stretch right now getting through it, she said. You'd never know there was any damage. It looks identical. The disaster was a great introduction to the new landlord. McGuire Development Company bought the lit building in October in a $1.85 million deal and is now planning to invest another $14 million to convert the upper floors of the 10-story building from offices into 36 apartments. The Dunn Building was one of the nation's first high-rises when it was built in the 1890s. K. Dara will also get new signage, which was previously limited to a sidewalk sandwich board. They've been fantastic landlords, said Laban, who opened the business at the site in late 2022 with her business partner and chef, Vathan Athone Tutu Inthalasi. They are engaging and they want to be involved in our restaurant. There's been so much transparency and communication through this experience that has been wonderful. The partners first launched the business in 2012 as K. Dara Noodle Bar in the Sidway building at 77 Main Street. Many of their customers followed them to the new site and have remained loyal throughout the closure, she said. That loyalty and a good business insurance policy helped the restaurant survive. We've been a staple in the community since 2012, and we have wonderful customers since when we were at the Sidway, she said. With our location in a historic building in the heart of downtown, we receive so much business when anything is happening at the arena, especially the Sabres, concerts. It's great. And we do a lot of work with Seneca One for my lunch clientele and catering. And we're close to all the hotels. Laban, who started in the restaurant business at 16, fell in love with Southeast Asian cuisine during several trips abroad. Her partner, a native of Laos, cooked at several Asian restaurants in the area before bringing his traditional salty, sour, sweet, and spicy recipes for dumplings, noodles, and rice bowls, and pho. Our food is very unique, she said. I think we just really hit a niche with our food. Everything we make is in-house from scratch, and we are also able to meet very strict dietary restrictions. The food we're doing really sets us apart. In other restaurant news, Half-Baked Cookies opened a location March 21st at 3455 Amelia Drive, Orchard Park, in a storefront within the Quaker Crossing shopping center that used to be home to Sheer Madness. The Lockport-based chain also has stores on Sheridan Drive in Amherst and Elmwood Avenue in Buffalo, which opened in 2025. The bake shop, owned by Angie Snedeker, is known for its giant stuffed cookies. Luigia's on Wheels Buffalo will not return to operation this spring and is selling its 2 ice cream trucks. Kyle Holes, who has operated the business in Buffalo since 2018, has put his assets up for sale at $85,000, including the trucks, supplies, and equipment. The sale does not include rights to the name, which would require a separate agreement with the Rochester-based Luigia's. The company was ranked at number 13 on Buffalo Business First's 2025 off-site caterers list, with 150 events in the previous year. In the commercial real estate column, here's a story titled, Former City Hall Official Returns to BMHA. After a stint at City Hall, Nadine Marrero is returning to the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority, though not in the same role she left. Modesto Candelario is retiring as Assistant Executive Director after 23 years at BMHA. Marrero will step into his role. During Candelario's tenure, he oversaw 16 development transactions and 5 multi-phase renovations, totaling more than $800 million in redevelopment costs. Modesto's impact on BMHA and the city of Buffalo cannot be overstated, BMHA Executive Director Jillian Brown said in a statement. His leadership, expertise, and unwavering commitment to our residents have transformed communities and positioned the authority for long-term success. Marrero is a veteran of planning and development in Buffalo. She served as the city's Director of Planning and Zoning from 2014 to 2021, then joined the BMHA as President of Bridges Development, the authority's development arm. At Bridges, she spearheaded planning for massive projects such as the $200 million redevelopment at Perry Homes and the $250 million renovation of Marine Drive, both of which are in progress. Marrero left Bridges to return to City Hall in early 2025, when Acting Mayor Christopher Scanlon named her head of the city's Office of Strategic Planning. Mayor Sean Ryan eliminated that position this year as part of a broader shakeup of the city's approach to development and permitting. Marrero ranked number 34 on Buffalo Business First's 2025 Power 200 Women list. Alex Carducci continues to serve as Interim Director of Bridges Development, a position he's held since Marrero's 2025 departure. Owner shares update on $2.5 million Washington Square bar conversion. The former Washington Square Bar and Grill in downtown Buffalo remains vacant, but not for long, according to property owner John Daly. Daly said he's nearly finalized financing with the nonprofit lender Community Preservation Corp. And has lined up historic tax credits for a project that will bring 8 apartment units to the upper floors of the building at 295 Washington Street. Construction is set to start soon. We're really going to be racing to see if we can get that project done in about 9 months, Daly said, though he acknowledged it could stretch to about a year. The estimated hard costs for the project are about $2.5 million. It has already received a $40,000 storefront revitalization grant from Erie County. The 3-story brick building was constructed around 1870 and was originally the Sportstown Hotel. Since 1967, the first floor operated as Washington Square Bar and Grill, but the longtime bar closed during the pandemic. Owners Vincent and Misty Spano sold it to Daly for $440,000 in 2021. Daly reopened the restaurant that year, but closed it again in preparation for the renovation work. He plans to refurbish and reopen the bar and restaurant. The upper floors of the 3-story building have been unused for years. It used to be a little hotel and boarding house, Daly said. It's primed to take that and convert it. The original 16 hotel rooms will be converted to 8 apartment units. These will be affordable apartments, targeting those who make up to 80% of the area regional income. In Buffalo, that means tenants with a household income of around $77,520 a year. Troutman Associates, the firm where Daly is president and partner, will handle the design work and construction management. In the technology department, here's a story titled, He Moved Home and Got the Entrepreneurship Bug at Startup Weekend. When Jason Bartz moved back to Buffalo in 2017, he saw a Startup Weekend flyer in an elevator at the BNMC Innovation Center. He had never attended anything similar before, but he took a picture of the flyer on a whim. When he attended the event, hosted by Techstars, he joined a team. The objective? Build a product over one weekend and pitch it to a panel of judges, which at the time included Dan Magnuszewski, co-founder of ACV, who now leads venture studio Radial Ventures. His team won that startup weekend, which returns April 17th, and Bartz knew from that moment he wanted to build his own company. I had never thought, never even crossed my mind, of starting a business, of being a founder, Bartz said, but that was really the first eye-opening experience. After spending most of his childhood in Kenmore, Bartz and his then-girlfriend Kellyanne moved to Northern Virginia around 2012 when she found a teaching role. I wasn't super homesick leaving at the time in 2012 because there really wasn't much going on, he said. Downtown, there was nothing going on. Waterfront, there was nothing going on. It was, well, just that, not much going on, especially job market-wise. Bartz went to Northern Virginia Community College and explored career options, specifically in engineering and computer science. He worked in retail management, a role he did not want long-term. But the goal was always to return home, buy a house, and start a family. During their 5 years away, new businesses were created and moving in. When Bartz began exploring career options in Western New York, he was rejected by a tech company at the Dig co-working space in Buffalo. A recruiter then suggested he look at ACV. ACV, founded in 2015, became Buffalo's first unicorn and went public in 2021. When Bartz discovered the company in early 2017, the online marketplace business for automotive dealers was a lean team working out of the Dig co-working space. The business had won a $1 million prize in 43 North's 2015 pitch contest. When he learned about the Buffalo startup, he knew the company was going to take off, and he wanted to be a part of it in any capacity. He unsuccessfully applied for an inside sales position, but continued following up until he got another meeting. He was eventually offered a business development representative role and took a $25,000 pay cut to accept the position, knowing he was just getting his foot in the door and would not stay in that position for long. He was an account manager 3 months later, and a half year later was managing a new team of concierge account managers for the Northeast. I was definitely lucky in being able to work closely with leadership there and get to experience some of these different roles and some pretty cool opportunities, Bartz said. They just made these new roles because of how quickly the company was scaling. When he left ACV 5 years later, he was leading the inside sales team for ACV Capital, the financing service provider arm overseeing the company's portfolio. While in that role, he got a demo from New York City-based Vero Technologies. He was impressed by the loan management and operating system that was way better than the legacy players in the space. At the time, they were doing a closed pilot with a couple of clients and were working to bring the platform to market. When he saw on LinkedIn a year later that Vero had raised a seed round, he reached out to the CEO to say congratulations and how can I help? Meanwhile, ACV had gone public in 2021 and had grown to a few thousand employees globally. Bartz said he missed working on a smaller startup and scaling quickly. He joined the Vero team of about 8 as Director of Growth in 2022. He's now Vice President of Partnerships. I'm just thinking I know this space well, I like this product, I like this team, he said. So getting back to what I like doing, waking up, logging in, and solving problems, just whatever needs to be done. Along the way, Bartz has also gotten involved in the regional startup ecosystem and started his own ventures. He co-founded the Good Neighbor Fund, which awards microgrants to early and ideation state founders, became an investor limited partner in Bold Ventures, a venture fund with a human-centered approach to investing, and he co-founded Refraction, a Shopify platform for dealers. I think an early-stage company, whether it's an internship or just being able to be part of that experience, I think is so valuable because it can translate to so many different avenues, Bartz said. Everything that comes along with that, the problem solving, being able to make decisions on the fly, being able to do more with less, all of these things are applicable. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Hotel Sale marks shift for Salvatore family's hospitality empire. Though the sale of Garden Place Hotel might have come as a surprise, it was far from a spontaneous decision for the Salvatore family. After the pandemic, when hiring and retention challenges left the business short-handed, there were days that Joseph Salvatore and his family found themselves cleaning rooms and staffing the kitchen. "We've always been the family that's going to pitch in and help," he said. "If we're short-handed, we're not going to say, 'I'm going to play golf.' We just jump in and help wherever we can and do what we can do to get it done." Still, at 68, Salvatore knew he wasn't getting any younger and decided it was time to shed some of the company's non-core businesses. That led to conversations with hotelier Jayesh Patel and a 2-year process that culminated with the March 19th sale of Garden Place. The hotel was sold in an $8.5 million deal, including $6.4 million for Patel's Rudra Garden Place LLC to buy the real estate at 6615 Transit Road from Italian Gardens Real Estate Corp. They own 50-some hotels, and it's what they really like to do, and the location worked out well for them, Salvatore said. "Sometimes things come up and you get the right price. Everything is for sale at the right price, and we felt comfortable where that was." Salvatore had owned Garden Place since 2005, when he bought the business and Salvatore's Italian Gardens from his father, Russell, but he had helped run it since its opening in 1995. "We probably started thinking about it after COVID, with the state of employment and hiring," he said. "You always get a number of employees not showing up for work. I said, 'I'm getting tired of this. I've been doing this for 50 years. Shedding the hotel gives him and his family more time and energy to put into the main campus at 6461 Transit Road, home to the Banquet Center, the Delavan Hotel, and their restaurants, including Perla and the Salvatore's Italian Prime Steakhouse. The sale is part of an ongoing evolution for the business," Salvatore said. He pointed to the opening of Perla in 2022, when the company looked at how to balance the decline in business at its fine dining steakhouse post-COVID. The company also shifted some operations inside the adjoining 60-room Delavan Hotel over the past year to 2 outside businesses. In 2025, Krushiki Bakery took over the Lobby Cafe, and Pure Organics took over spa and salon operations. Salvatore said there are no plans to sell the Delavan, where the company can more easily move employees over from the banquet and restaurant operations. The company also has a smaller banquet operation on Main Street in Clarence, at the Humbert House and Brick Hall Event Center. "They're easier to manage and to handle because you don't have nearly the number of employees needed," he said. "We're trying to position ourselves so that whatever more comes up, we'll be ready to go with it." And while neither Salvatore nor his wife Paula is ready to retire, they are starting to plan some breaks from the business, including a 2-week trip to Italy later this year. He's not interested in working forever, though, even though his 93-year-old father is still going to work every day at Russell's Steaks, Chops, and More, and Salvatore's Grand Hotel, the businesses he launched in 2008. "We do want to get a little more time for ourselves, and we're trying to position ourselves to have more of that," he said. "To us, that's a very long vacation to be away, 2 weeks. But we know that everything back home is going to run seamlessly. Everyone is going strong on what they have to do, and we're fortunate the family all wants to still be involved." Savarino to sell Batavia project as legal fight over tax breaks continues. Developer Samuel Savarino has a deal in place to sell the Ellicott Station apartment complex in Batavia, even as he continues to pursue a lawsuit over disputed tax breaks for the project. Pathstone, a Rochester-based nonprofit focused on affordable housing and workforce development, will purchase the 5-story, 55-unit building at 40 Ellicott Street once construction on the $26 million project is completed, according to Savarino. The Daily News in Batavia first reported the deal. Savarino said the deal with Pathstone is not a straightforward cash transaction, but that the value of the deal is between $15 million and $17 million. "We've been talking to Pathstone for quite a while on this," he said. Work is nearly completed, according to Savarino. He expects the apartment community to be done by May 1st. Savarino said he has mixed feelings about the sale of a project that has been repeatedly delayed and the subject of a prolonged dispute with city and county officials. "This has cost me plenty, being involved in this deal," he said. "An awful lot of money invested that I won't be getting back. On the other hand, there is a sense of pride in completing a project as it was intended to be completed. We haven't left the community with a half-completed project or an eyesore." The Pathstone deal does not include the neighboring properties where Savarino is still planning a commercial project. This includes renovating an existing building and constructing a new one next door. Brownfield remediation is underway, and Savarino said he plans to move forward with construction soon. Lawsuit over tax breaks. Batavia and Genesee County officials once lauded Ellicott Station as a much-needed workforce housing project that would provide affordable housing for working people. A 2021 project agreement between the developer and the Genesee County Development Corporation stated that the project would be targeted at households making 60% or less of area median income. A 2022 agreement with New York State Homes and Community Renewal, which also provided funding for the project, specified that 36 units be reserved for those making less than 50% of the area median income, and the remaining 19 units for those making less than 60%. The developer was required to hold a lottery for applicants. That lottery started in early 2023 while the project was still underway. It kicked off a furor among city and county officials who said they were surprised at the low income threshold for residents. Average incomes had risen since the project agreement was finalized, but Ellicott Station's income thresholds were based on 2019 income levels. In August 2023, the GCEDC board voted to hold the project in default, saying the project no longer met its definition of workforce housing. Savarino's companies have sued the GCEDC, saying the tax incentives for the project were improperly canceled. Savarino said he will continue to pursue these lawsuits. Buffalo nursing home property sold for $21.43 million. A Buffalo nursing home has been sold to a New Jersey-based company in a $21.43 million deal, according to records filed Monday with the Erie County Clerk's Office. Waterfront Land Associates, LLC of New York City, sold Ellicott Center Nursing Home at 68-72 Carolina Street to 207th SNF Realty, LLC of Lakewood, New Jersey. The nursing home will continue to operate under the same management, according to Ellicott Center Administrator Anijah Patterson. He referred further questions to Centers Healthcare, the company that operates Ellicott Center, and more than 35 other nursing and rehabilitation facilities across New York and New Jersey. The company did not immediately return a request for comment. Waterfront Land Associates is led by Daryl Hagler, who owns many nursing homes. He recently sold 4 New York City nursing home properties in a series of transactions totaling more than $300 million, as reported by New York Business Journal, a sister publication to Buffalo Business First. The buyer of the New York City properties was Emerald Group, based in New Jersey. It appears Emerald Group is also behind the acquisition of Ellicott Center. While the company is not specifically mentioned in any of the paperwork filed in Erie County, the same representatives signed the deed and mortgage documents in that sale as in the New York City sales. A representative for Emerald Group did not immediately return a request for comment. Hagler has been at the center of several controversies related to nursing homes. New Jersey's Office of the State Comptroller in December 2025 filed a report accusing Hagler and business partner Kenneth Rosenberg of fraud, waste, and abuse in their operations of 2 New Jersey facilities. Rosenberg leads Centers Healthcare, which still operates Ellicott Center. In 2024, the owners and management of Centers agreed to pay $45 million to settle a lawsuit brought by the New York Attorney General's office related to alleged financial fraud, mistreatment of residents, and chronic understaffing at 4 nursing homes, including Buffalo Center for Rehabilitation and Nursing. The suit accused Rosenberg and Hagler of scheming to charge centers inflated rents for the properties. Waterfront Land Associates bought Ellicott Center in 2013. At the time, the facility was called Waterfront Healthcare Center. It was renamed in 2017. Weinberg campus auction plan scrapped after mortgage holder withdraws support. A plan to sell the bankrupt Weinberg campus at auction is off the table after a change of heart by the mortgage holder. That's according to attorneys for the Gettsville nonprofit, who notified the court during a hearing Monday about the refusal to approve a sale from BP Gettsville Campus LLC, the company that holds a $22 million secured claim and first priority mortgage on the property at 2700 North Forest Road. Unfortunately, I've got bad news that has adverse impact on the case and the motion, said Kevin Lilonic, an attorney with Gross Schumann, who represents Weinberg Campus. BP Gettsville is no longer supporting the motion to sell the real property. The 37.7-acre property was initially slated to go up for sale in late April on the 10X competitive bidding site, where Weinberg told the courts it hoped to realize the best value for creditors, who have filed claims totaling $55 million. The process was delayed until late June after a court hearing February 9th, when U.S. Bankruptcy Court Western District Judge Carl Buckeye questioned whether all creditors had granted permission. The secured creditor is not consenting, and therefore the sale cannot go forward as proposed, Buckeye said. It's the next blow in a year-long Chapter 11 bankruptcy case that followed the closing in late 2024 of Weinberg's skilled nursing facility, assisted living programs, and independent living facilities after half a dozen lawsuits and a foreclosure notice by the mortgage holder. Complicating the process even more is a motion by the U.S. trustee assigned to the case to dismiss the Chapter 11 case or convert it to a Chapter 7 dissolution, which is scheduled to be heard at a hearing April 13th. William Harrington, the U.S. trustee for Region 2, listed several grounds for dismissal in his filing, including Weinberg's failure to pay monthly operating reports and pay property taxes and quarterly bankruptcy fees. It also has not paid post-petition withholding taxes, and its workers' compensation insurance policy expired January 1st, even though it continues to employ 5 individuals for whom coverage is required. The trustee also cited gross mismanagement of Stovroff Towers, where it said several squatters have occupied vacant rooms. Additionally, Weinberg failed to report the proceeds from liquidation sales held by Edna Louise Estate and Household Liquidation in May 2025. The debtors' estates are diminishing in value, he wrote. The mortgages and liens accrue post-petition interest and fees, reducing whatever equity there may be for unsecured creditors. The debtors are not paying post-petition real property taxes, which further reduces any equity there may be for unsecured creditors. Lilonic acknowledged those issues Monday, citing the lack of cash collateral for operations since the fall. There's significant operational issues that are ongoing that the debtor has been relying on BP Gettsville to assist with, he said. In response to Buckeye's question about what will happen with the case in the absence of a sale, Lilonic said the Chapter 11 dismissal is possible and suggested the organization might work to reconstitute the board of directors to consider conversion to a Chapter 7 liquidation. If that happens, Lilonic said during a post-hearing phone call, creditors will be left with their rights under the state court process. That includes the original foreclosure filed by BP Gettsville that was stayed by the bankruptcy process, he said. They don't have to refile, it springs back to life, Lilonic said. My sense is they're done throwing away good money after bad, and they're going to proceed with their state court process. The property that would have been up for sale includes nearly 498,000 square feet of space on nearly 40 acres and represents substantially all of Weinberg's assets. That includes a parcel currently used by the JCC Buffalo for its day camp. The one exception is property on John James Audubon Parkway that houses the Stovroff Apartments, where the Foundation for Jewish Philanthropies filed a foreclosure notice in February. Also under consideration is the sale of Weinberg's Certified Home Health Agency to a Rochester agency that submitted a $500,000 offer. The State Department of Health filed an objection to the sale, writing that because it is not operational, it has no assets to be sold, such as a patient list or employees. Additionally, Weinberg failed to submit a closing plan and surrender its license as required. Lilonic said the proposed purchaser is in talks with the Department of Health and Weinberg to see if there is a way to resolve the department's objection. Discussion of the home care license sale was adjourned to April 20th. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Employers change how they hire as a new type of job candidate emerges. Credentials reshape the hiring market. For generations, a four-year college degree was considered the surest path to a stable, well-paying career. But as tuition costs have soared and the job market grows increasingly competitive, students have started turning to specialized credentials to stand out. Experts say it's not just high school graduates opting for credentials either. They point to a growing number of early career professionals with traditional degrees who view them as a way to boost their resumes or to provide them an edge in a fast-changing job market. Mark Dovich of the South Florida Business Journal reports that the shift has had an impact on colleges, private credential companies, and education nonprofits. At the same time, employers increasingly are saying that they are open to, or even prefer, candidates with industry credentials. As Miami-Dade College President Madeline Pumargia told Dovich, we're in a knowledge plus skills economy. Dovich looks at how the rise of non-degree programs has transformed hiring. A new type of classroom is coming. The discussion of degrees versus credentials is far from the only dynamic that's changing when it comes to preparing the nation's younger workforce. How they're getting their information is changing too. Boston University's new provost says the days of traditional classrooms are over. We need to be more interactive with how we engage with our students, says Colin Duckett. The death by PowerPoint days, we are moving on from that. Duckett is set to be the new head of BU's academic affairs and research starting July 1st. He replaces Gloria Waters, who served in leadership roles across the school for 20 years. Maya Shavit of the Boston Business Journal reports that instead of huge lecture halls full of students quietly listening, Duckett sees a future of learning that includes technology and student-driven models, such as flipped classrooms in which students lead the instruction and are graded on their presentation and command of the material. He also sees BU getting even more global through online learning programs. We need to double down on creative ways to educate in a way that holds attention and brings excitement for scholarship, Duckett said. A corporate campus changes everything. It was early in John Shirley's career at Microsoft Corporation when Bill Gates approached his desk and told him about a dream. The dream is that we'd have a campus someday, Shirley recalled Gates saying, reports Nick Passione of the Puget Sound Business Journal. Would be more like a college environment, would have trees and walkways and things for people to do, Microsoft's founder and chief executive continued. Gates imagined a sprawling office campus where employees could go on long walks between meetings, eat breakfast and lunch on site, and be near good schools where employees could settle down and raise a family. For Shirley, hired as the first president of Microsoft in 1983, it was his job to find it and build it. Gates' vision would become the blueprint for the all-inclusive tech campuses often associated with Silicon Valley. But this was 1980s Redmond, Washington, a Seattle suburb without much of a tech presence, much less the headquarters of a $2.89 trillion company. 4 decades later, Microsoft has gradually unveiled the latest iteration of its campus in Redmond, a $5 billion project That includes 17 buildings with turf fields, cherry blossom trees, restaurants and cafes, and a green heating and cooling system that pulls energy from deep in the earth. But Microsoft's influence is evident well beyond the boundaries of its campus. Paisan looks at how Microsoft's Redmond campus has changed a community, from offices to housing to light rail. Numbers to know: 126,720. The number of people who joined the population of the Houston metro area between July 2024 and July 2025, according to U.S. Census Bureau data, the largest increase among all U.S. metros during that time. 1,000. Number of employees: video game developer Epic Games is laying off amid declining engagement in its flagship game, Fortnite. 600. Number of jobs in Chicago that Mars Inc. expects to add through a $100 million investment and the creation of a North American regional hub in the city's Fulton Market district. In the healthcare column, major Buffalo medical organizations settle cyber breach lawsuits for $5 million. Two of the region's largest medical groups have agreed to multi-million-dollar payouts exceeding a combined $5 million to settle class action lawsuits tied to cyber breaches. Both lawsuits stem from incidents in spring and summer of 2024, when hackers gained access to computer systems to steal personal health information. Excelsior Orthopedics and its Buffalo Surgery Center agreed to a $2.4 million settlement to resolve lawsuits after a data breach that affected nearly 400,000 individuals of the practice and another 64,000 surgery center patients. Separately, General Physician PC agreed to pay $2.5 million to settle a class action suit from a breach affecting more than 167,000 individuals, though the settlement class includes about 490,210 individuals. Both settlements began with lawsuits filed in State Supreme Court in Erie County in August and October of 2024, respectively. Dave Uba, CEO at Excelsior, pointed to the increasing challenge of fighting cybercrime that all industries are facing. As the digital economy continues to grow, this is going to continue to happen over and over again, and cybercrime is going to continue to rise, he said. The threat actors are getting more and more sophisticated. Everyone has to be looking at what they're doing with a lot more diligence, and we need more training to continue to keep up with what's going on. It's unfortunately the world we live in now. Excelsior Orthopedics Buffalo Surgery Center. Excelsior is one of the region's largest private orthopedics practices, reporting revenue of more than $100 million in 2024. With 32 physicians, the practice is ranked at number 7 among the region's largest medical groups. Excelsior first detected unusual activity on its servers June 23, 2024, according to the lawsuit filed against the company. The hackers gained control of the servers on July 9th and then made the threat July 16th, but Excelsior failed to notify the public about the data breach until August 21st. Class action members called that timeline woefully insufficient. The lawsuit said the ransomware group accessed information on Excelsior patients dating back to 2004, shut down the company's servers, and threatened to publish the stolen information on the dark web. The company was accused of negligence, breach of implied contract, violating state general business law, and unjust enrichment. Despite having the financial wherewithal and personnel necessary to prevent the data breach, defendants failed to use reasonable security procedures and practices appropriate to the nature of the sensitive, unencrypted information they maintained for plaintiffs and class members, the lawsuit said. According to the settlement website, the personal health information included names, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, state identification numbers, passport numbers, dates of birth, biometric information, diagnosis, financial account information, health insurance information, and prescription information. The court approved the settlement in February, with notification sent in mid-March by mail to past patients, who have until June 7th to submit a claim. A final hearing on the settlement is scheduled for July 8th. General Physician PC. With 161 physicians, General Physician PC is the region's second largest medical group, with services provided in 20 specialties by 100 practices at 50 locations. The group is affiliated with Kaleida Health and Erie County Medical Center. The Buffalo-based company first identified suspicious activity in its email system June 12, 2024. A forensic examination confirmed that cyber criminals accessed the system between April 6th and June 12th, 2024. Private patient information compromised in the breach included names, social security numbers, financial account information, dates of birth, medical information, and health insurance information. The suit said the company was reckless in how it maintained, used, and shared patient information, which was left vulnerable to cyber attacks. The data breach was a direct result of defendants' failure to implement adequate and reasonable cybersecurity procedures and protocols necessary to protect its patients' private information from a foreseeable and preventable cyber attack, the lawsuit said. The practice said in a statement that it notified patients about the breach in 2025 and is providing identity theft protection services. While GPPC is unaware of any actual or attempted identity fraud in relation to the incident, we provided potentially affected individuals with information about the incident and steps individuals may take to help protect against the possible misuse of their information, it said. The court approved the settlement in late January and ordered notification of affected patients to begin within 30 days. According to the settlement site for the case, claims are due by May 27th, or individuals may opt out by April 27th if they choose to sue or be part of another lawsuit. A final approval hearing is scheduled for June 4th. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Next up, Braemiller Market Building remains vacant as owner seeks buyer. When Braemiller Market announced its closure in December 2024, there was a sliver of hope that the space would not stay empty for long. More than a year later, however, the highly visible site in Buffalo's Central Business District remains available for lease or sale. The property at 225 Ellicott Street is owned by Braemiller owner Stuart Green, and the listing is handled by Newmark Simonelli. The property has had strong interest levels in terms of inquiries and tours, but has only got a couple of low offers since Braemiller closed, according to Kyle Simonelli, president of Simonelli Real Estate Corp. The customized building includes retail and restaurant space, a mezzanine and second floor office space, and freezer cooler space. It's almost like the space has a little bit of everything, he said, so you attract a little bit of everything. Representatives from industries ranging from pharmacies to breweries and restaurants to cold storage and warehouses have toured the site. Green, the owner, would prefer to sell the site rather than lease it, according to Simonelli. The sale price is in the mid to high $4 million area, while a lease rate would depend on factors such as length and capital put into the space by the tenant. When Green and the city announced Braemiller's closure in December of 2024, then acting mayor Chris Scanlon said a public use had been identified for the space. It was later revealed that the former market would temporarily house the Buffalo Police Department's B District station, while its permanent space underwent renovations. But since then, current mayor Sean Ryan took office in 2026, and the former Braemiller spot remains empty. I can confirm that the previous plan is no longer in consideration, but no other decisions have been made about the space at this point in time, said Ian Ott, the city's director of communications, in an email to Business First. Marketing the former Braemiller space. Marketing began as soon as Braemiller Market closed. Newmark Simonelli has a massive database of investors and users, both local and national, that the firm reaches out to en masse and on an individual basis, according to Simonelli. There are also virtual tours and flyers in the company's database. There's no rock unturned in terms of who we're reaching out to, he said. It's definitely been in front of everybody's eyes. While another market would be the preferred tenant because the space was built to accommodate that type of business, the firm is open to other options. Simonelli said he sees promise in the nationwide demand for cold storage. If developer Douglas Jamal attracts a new-to-the-region buyer for his portfolio, that could help rejuvenate interest in Bray Miller, he added. Jamal recently put 10 downtown properties, his Simon Electric portfolio, up for sale. It includes 7 buildings totaling 80,500 square feet across 1.8 acres on Ellicott and Huron Streets. Once we get into the spring, we usually see an uptick in activity, Simonelli said. We hope so here at Bray Miller as well. Brisbane building to add 4th food option with Acai Bowls shop. The Brisbane building will add a 4th food and drink option in May. Everberry is taking the front space near Main Street that previously housed a newspaper and snack stand, with plans to offer a health-conscious menu of Acai Bowls. The venture comes from Clark Thrasher, a 2024 graduate of Rochester Polytech Institute, who pitched the idea to building owner Peter Hunt a few years ago. It was a warm lead. Thrasher's father, also named Clark, is Director of Corporate Services for Hunt Commercial Real Estate and has worked in the building for years. He sent me a business plan a few years ago, Hunt said, admitting he came across it recently while cleaning his desk. I found it, walked into Clark Sr.'s office, and asked what he's doing about it. 5 minutes later, we let it develop. The younger Thrasher said he developed the idea during a study abroad trip in London, where he fell in love with the idea of Acai Bowls. He worked on the business plan at RPI, where he introduced the concept during a pop-up that sold out. Though this is his first venture, he built some hospitality experience working during the pandemic at Taco Bell, and then as an intern with Delaware North, where he helped to open Bocce Pizza and BurgerFi at the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. At the Brisbane building, he hopes to appeal to health-conscious workers and visitors to the building. The menu will include an Acai Bowl berry base with toppings that include fresh fruit, nuts, honey, collagen, Nutella, chia seeds, and granola. Thrasher said he's looking forward to joining the Brisbane, pointing to recent development that includes the opening of BB's and the C. Stewart and Jane H. Hunt Art Gallery. It's a historical gem, he said. My father has been working here, and I've been coming here since I was a child. I don't think there's anyone better to partner with than Peter Hunt. I want to ride the momentum. With the new apartments coming on the top floor, the art gallery opening, it's going to become the next hub. Hunt said it also makes business sense. The menu balances the other offerings in the building. The Rainbow Deli, Gino and Joe's New York Pizza, and BB's on the Square Cafe, which opened in early March. We've got pizza on one corner, we've got the deli salad bar on the other side, and a bistro. So this kind of closes the option gap a little bit and provides an opportunity for people to stop in and hopefully look at the artwork and the people who work in the building to get more of a healthy snack kind of food, he said. In other restaurant news, the former Black Iron Bistro restaurant at 3648 South Park Avenue in the village of Blaisdell has been sold, with BA Estates LLC paying $315,000 to buy the property from the J.A. and E.J. McCosey Living Trust. Brian McCosey operated Black Iron at the site from 2014 to 2021, when he moved the restaurant to 3067 Delaware Avenue in Kenmore. The multi-use property also has 2 apartments upstairs. Abdullah Babasaran, the new owner, said he plans to look for a tenant to lease the space. Tango's 716 has opened at 246 West Ferry Street in Buffalo, offering Argentinian offerings, including beef, chicken, and veggie empanadas and chimichurri. Owner Gabriella Ozan held a soft opening in mid-March. According to a post from the Small Business Development Center at SUNY Buffalo State University, Ozan emigrated to the U.S. in 2004. The restaurant space followed pop-ups and rented kitchen space at the Broadway Market. In the commercial real estate world, the story is titled Power People. He once sang the national anthem in the Odd. Tom Kurcharski built a career out of starting economic development organizations before returning to his hometown for his biggest challenge, one he's been working on for more than 25 years. This has easily been the most challenging because we had to get everyone working together and to see themselves as a region, said Kucharski, president and CEO of Invest Buffalo Niagara. He's been helming the organization since 2000, even while undergoing months of treatment due to a recent leukemia diagnosis. That treatment has been completed, and Kucharski said his progress is looking good so far. A Western New York native and University at Buffalo graduate, Kucharski started his career working for the federal government in Washington, D.C., then later moved to Fort Myers, Florida. In the 90s, he became the first executive director of the Horizon Council of Southwest Florida, his first time leading an economic development organization. A few years later, he was recruited to help start the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corp. Soon he returned home to do it all again in Buffalo. It's kind of been full circle for me, he said. At Invest Buffalo Niagara, he's focused on bringing major employers to the region, an endeavor that involves overcoming workforce shortages, limited electrical infrastructure, and rapid technological and economic change. We're in a race for relevancy, he said. Power 250 2026 rank, 87. Something people don't know about you? I once sang the Canadian and U.S. national anthems at a Sabres game at the old arena, the Odd. Longtime Sabres anthem singer Joe Byron had a minor heart attack before the game, so they grabbed me. I was doing a marketing internship at UB. I'll never forget the look on my mom and dad's face. They were in the audience. Biggest goal for the next 12 months? Professionally, it is to continue the collaboration that has been built in all of upstate New York around economic development. Personally, after my illness, it's to appreciate what I have and devote time to my family and to what's important. Favorite subject in high school? History. I'm kind of a history buff, especially the Civil War, World War I, and World War II. Favorite hobby? Golf, and I'm trying to learn the guitar. Something you look for when hiring? Critical thinking. Can somebody have the personality to deal with different types of challenges? Because we're working with the whole community. In economic development, it's rare that you have 2 days that are the same. Style as a boss. Strong but fair. Our profession requires some evenings, sometimes on the weekends, some odd hours if we're dealing with foreign companies. So you have to have some flexibility with your employees for them not to burn themselves out. Advice for 25-year-old self. It's interesting because I have a 32 and a 26-year-old, so I think about that a lot when they're asking me questions. I would say, as my grandfather used to say, you can't listen when you're talking. Most amazing part of the job. The fact that I get to deal with so many parts of our community and appreciate how many good folks there are out there, whether it's in nonprofits or in government or in the private sector. Lesson learned from mistake. If you understand the mistake that you make and you commit yourself to not making it again, you can add that to your asset side as far as wisdom and knowledge. You shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes, but you shouldn't go out of the way to do it. Favorite place to eat in Western New York? Hutch's. If you had to pick a different career? Probably law. First job? It was being a busboy and eventually a waiter at the Buffalo Trap and Field Club. It taught me at an early age to manage my time well and to work with others. With a magic wand, what would you change about working in Western New York? I would say still it's the mentality of the community, the ability for it to embrace the future. It's got everything it needs to be successful. Oftentimes we let history or our fear of being successful prevent us from taking the next step. Carvana ramps up hiring as Akron site grows. Carvana's Inspection and Reconditioning Center at the Edessa site in Akron has seen significant growth since operations began 2 years ago. About 18 months ago, the Carvana site at 12200 Main Street was doing 10% of the business it's bringing in today, according to Justin Nelson, Regional Director of Inspection Center Execution. It's why the company launched a hiring campaign earlier this month in an attempt to hire 50 employees. We provide a training opportunity to make a job a career, he said. The value in working at Carvana is that you can grow substantially. Nelson declined to disclose the Akron site's employee count, but the Tempe, Arizona-based Carvana has about 23,100 employees company-wide. Nelson said that since Benjamin Kroom joined the team in June as general manager of reconditioning for Carvana, the Akron site has doubled its throughput. Kroom, the former site manager for Amazon's Lancaster facility, is leading the hiring and training efforts. We're trying to be as competitive as we can with some of the other big dealerships like West Her and the other major retailers in the area, Kroom said. There's no shortage of demand for what we're doing. It's just a matter of getting the right people in so we can meet that demand. In 2025, Carvana announced goals of reaching 3 million annual car sales in the next 5 to 10 years. The company sold just under 600,000 cars in 2025 and had $20.3 billion in revenue. Nelson and Kroom would not disclose the number of vehicles sold from the Akron site. We want to do 3 million cars, and you don't get there by going slow, so we're trying to ramp up at our site, Kroom said. Carvana first came to the Buffalo market in 2019 with a delivery site on Dingen Street. In 2022, Carvana acquired Edessa, but kept the brand and continued doing wholesale car auctions to licensed dealerships. In 2024, Carvana consolidated the Dingen Street facility into the Akron site, which it began using for auctions and as an inspection and reconditioning center. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the March 31st, 2026 issue of Buffalo Business First. We read from Buffalo Business First every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Your reader has been Jim Michaely. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have Time Magazine. At 8 o'clock, we have the New York Times. And following that, at 9 o'clock, we have Discover Magazine. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. Thank you for listening. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which